It
a.m.
becomes
and they're
suspicious.
walking at around at 3 a.m.,
Yeah.
I would imagine they're just trying to live their life and try to just deal with their own stuff.
Right.
In America, it is a little bit different. If you're walking around 3 a.m., you're probably going to be running into maybe some people who are maybe under an influence or something,
Mm,
right?
mm.
In China, for the most part, people to kind of just leave you alone
Yeah.
when you're walking around.
Well, that's how Chinese society is. They don't interfere in others' matter. That's
Yeah,
one of the reasons why I stayed back in China. Like because in India we have that culture, always looking at neighbors, what neighbors are doing, what other friends are doing, and they like to gossip. Here, that culture has really fascinated me because I'm a kind of I used to be introvert. I never used to talk too much with any random people. So here I find it's very very interesting. People don't interfere in your personal matter, and even if they ask question, you're okay if you don't want to reply. They're very good with that. I love that culture here. People really minding their own business, right?
yeah, and I think that's what attracts a lot of people to the country itself
Yeah,
is that they start to understand that you can live a very private life
yeah.
here. We talked about the infrastructure. Again, when it comes to infrastructure, I can literally live in my apartment without leaving
Yeah,
for forever.
for
For-
exactly
In all
forever.
honesty, the because
Everything would be delivered to your
yeah,
place,
they
right?
have again in the Western cultures and all that stuff. In America, we have Uber Eats, we have Yelp delivery and all that stuff. Yes, there are delivery systems in other countries,
But
but
not as efficient as China, right?
it's literally insane how efficient the Chinese delivery
And they
systems
keep
are.
upgrading, right? They
Yeah,
keep upgrading.
and
Like they want to make. This is what I like about Chinese government. They work day and night to make people's life better,
mhm.
unlike other countries' government. And still, people think Chinese government is trying to kind of disrespect their citizens. No, I think most of the time they're working really hard to make people's life easier.
Well, again, there's a lot of people in China, right? Billions of people,
Of course,
right? So I think it comes down to the government. They need to control that aspect of those billions of people
right?
because it's a hard task. It's a
It is.
monumental
Yes,
task
yes.
to control that amount of
Of
people
course.
because again. We've talked about this in the past when it comes to Chinese history. If you guys know anything about it, thousands upon thousands of years of civil war, right?
Yep.
So again, to unite China under one banner, I think is a hard task, and that's
It's
why
very, very difficult.
I think the government
Doing a
is
very good
doing
job.
good when it comes to that. And I think the Chinese people should be proud of it. I think I really
I
think so.
always think so because of course, we would never be able to understand or feel like a Chinese because we are not. But I keep telling them that your government is really efficient and they really work for you. Like the other day we discussed the concept of public servant. Literally, government, the authority, they assign jobs to different public servants to take care of the civilians. It's very very interesting. Also, I have been here for 20 plus years. I have never come across once where I had to pay bribe. Literally, I never had to, and it's so good. Like because when China made this tremendous development because of they were having a very efficient system, right? And that system is created by the government, not people. It's like government says, here is the platform, go and play, right? Which is very very important. In order to have a good thing going, you have to have a proper system, an efficient system, right?
So I would argue again, from my experience
Of course.
in going through all this, um, with any system of government, I think there's going to be corruption no matter where you go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
It's the
people are
level of corruption.
people,
Yeah,
right? People are
everywhere. Yeah,
people.
yeah. It's
So
human nature to be corrupt.
you may have not experienced any sort of corruption or anything like
Right.
that, but I would argue that some people have already have, and
Might.
I think it is a thing, and I think that's what a lot of people fear in general about coming to China. Uh, Particularly in the West, right? In the West, we're told that there's a high amount of corruption that goes against its people,
Mm.
right? And I think that's what people don't want to experience. I don't think people have anything against the Chinese people, but I think the West has something against the Chinese
No,
government.
it's their perception.
Right, of
Yeah,
course, of
it's
course.
not reality.
It's what they've been told.
How can you think of something bad when you have not experienced? My always question, how can you make perception of about something that this is bad and you have not even experienced that? This is my always been very big concern that please come and visit, experience it, and then you say it's a good or bad.
And I agree with you. Again, it's just what the media has been told, right? They're told this. If you've not traveled to China before, I definitely, like I said, this whole conversation is about definitely try doing it, try traveling to
Mhm.
China. Because again, when I first came here, I had no experience in the Chinese culture itself.
Of course.
Ethnically, I have Chinese blood in me, but um, it was not taught in our household, right? Um, I didn't even know how to say hello in
In
Chinese.
Chinese.
Okay.
And still
Uh,
you survived. And you survived well, right?
well, again, we'll get to that aspect, but when I first came here,
Mm.
it was very intimidating,
Of
right?
course. It's a new country,
It's a country.
new culture, and back of your head, a lot of negative things are going on because what you heard in your back home, right?
Right, of course.
Yeah.
I literally came here thinking that the communist regime was was in control of everything. The Communist Party is watching me all the time,
Which is not the
which
case.
is definitely not the case. Again, my ignorance was out in the open
Mm.
when I first talked to one of the first few Chinese friends that I've gotten when I first started. I asked them, I was like, how does it feel to live in a society where where the government tells you what kind of job you're supposed to have? The ignorance
This
was,
is like really, really a highest kind of ignorance you could have, right?
yeah, but
Government doesn't interfere. You are free to choose whatever you want to do, and you can free to live anywhere you want to, right? There's no
yeah,
restrictions. It's just amazing. But the kind of perceptions we get abroad, it's mind-boggling. Sometimes I go to India and also they ask a lot of strange questions. Like one of my friend, he was asking, "Hey, be careful. Chinese eat everything, so they might eat you as well." Yeah, they say like they get some story, something like that. Once someone went to China and then he fell sick, and then people ate him or something like that. So sometimes my friend was asking me that, "Hey, be very careful. They might eat you."
maybe that was what, 100 years ago, maybe.
No, they might eat people. Come on.
100 years ago, maybe, right? I don't know. Again, this kind of stuff
Of course, yeah.
is maybe it's happened in the past. Again, I'm not gonna say modern
But
past,
not in
modern,
China. It could be
not
anywhere.
modern. Yeah, it could happen
It
anywhere,
can happen
anywhere.
anywhere. Yeah.
Again, of course, we all know that there is some history in China um,
Things were really
where
bad.
things were bad, especially when they were still starting out.
Yeah.
Of course. But there's been like stuff like that that happened in other countries as well.
Every country,
So
yes. Etc.
it's
This is
just that in media, again, especially Western media, and I would even argue that some in Eastern media as well, also kind of demonize the Chinese government and all that. So then again, I think it's unnecessary. But when it comes to when I first came here, I think it was very important to understand that how ignorant I was when I first came here. You know.
yeah, and you see, in most cases, like okay, you are very ignorant. Once you come to China, you don't feel like to go back. This has happened with so many people. Now I see in TikTok videos and all, like a lot of people are saying that I've been here for 30 long years and I'm not they're Americans and British. I don't know if I'm going to be able to uh, get back to my own country. So it's very, very interesting. So you see a lot of bad things about China. Once you come here, you find, wow, it's an amazing country. It's very fascinating. People are very kind and incredibly good. And then you just stay here. You don't feel like to go back.
Well, I would argue against that
Mm.
because I think it depends. Everybody's different,
Of course,
right?
of course.
Again, I'm a teacher here in China, and I've seen quite a bit of people that have come and gone, right? I would think it would be a little bit disingenuous of us to say that every person wants to live in China. I would argue that it really depends on the person, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, agree. Yeah.
So, for example, me myself,
Mm.
I would love to stay in China for as long as you've stayed here as
Mhm.
well. 20 plus years. I've only done 7 to 8 years, right? So, but I don't really see myself going back home, back into America, uh, to live again for quite some time.
Why is that?
So
There must
again,
be something interesting here. Must be something that you are attracted to, right?
yeah.
So,
So again, when it comes to the society itself,
mm,
okay,
mm,
American society is great. Trust me, everyone, despite what everyone thinks, a lot of Americans,
hey,
we're
yes, yeah,
very nice people.
of
We're
course,
very nice,
of
but
course,
and we're actually a lot more understanding than everyone thinks.
of
Okay,
course,
again, our
mm,
country is founded on immigration,
of
but
course.
in terms of how our infrastructure in America is, it feels so backward and behind, right?
Compared to what?
Compared to China.
Yeah,
So I'll give you the example. Again, our subway system, yeah, it runs 24 hours in New York, right?
mm.
But
In Beijing, it doesn't.
in Beijing, it doesn't, right?
Right.
But in which I learned the hard way many times, but that's for another story. Um, but how old are the New York City subways, right? They're very old.
Exactly.
Okay.